the very beginning of the war, it quickly became clear that without modern heavy weapons, Ukraine would not be able to stop Russia's aggression. And since February-March, the possibility of sending American multiple launch rocket systems to Ukraine has been actively discussed. But it was only on June 1st that it was officially announced that the next package of military technical assistance from the United States would include 4 M142 HIMARS MLRS systems and their ammunition, and that Ukrainian military in Poland have already begun training on this weapon. So, what kind of weapon is this, and can it fundamentally change the situation in favor of Ukraine in this war? Watch this video and you will find out the answers to these questions. The M142 HIMARS High Mobility Artillery Rocket System is an upgraded, lighter, and more maneuverable wheeled version of the M270 tracked MLRS developed in the 1970s for the United States and its allies. The modernization consisted in the fact that the launcher size was halved. Instead of 12 missiles, 6 remained in it, and the launcher itself was moved from a tracked chassis to a wheeled one. As a result, the speed of movement has grown significantly. Instead of 64 kilometers per hour, it's become 85 kilometers per hour. And the mass decreased by more than 2 times, 11,000 kilograms versus 24,560 kilograms for the tracked MLRS M270. This made HIMARS air transportable. It can be transported by C-130 aircraft to anywhere in the world. HIMARS is manufactured by BAE Systems Mobility and Protection Systems, and the famous Lockheed Martin manufactures rockets for it. This multiple launch rocket system began to enter service with the United States in 2005. Now, let's take a closer look at this weapon. The basis for the combat vehicle M142 HIMARS is a 3-axle all-wheel drive chassis of the FMTV family with a carrying capacity of 5 tons. The base vehicle is built according to a cab-over layout and receives a set of necessary devices. So the serial equipment can receive both regular and protected crew cabins. Behind the cab, a block of additional equipment is mounted on the chassis, and the cargo platform of the frame is given over for the placement of a turntable mount with a launcher. The turntable mount has drives for horizontal and vertical aiming, and it allows shooting in any direction, with elevation angles from -2 degrees to +60 degrees. The aiming drives are controlled from the control panel located in the cockpit. The launcher is U-shaped, with mounts for interchangeable rocket pads. In addition, a reloading system crane is placed on top of the launcher. Unlike the Russian MLRS, the American launcher does not directly install missiles, but a pod with them, which is loaded at the factory. A pod can contain either 6 missiles or 1 missile, depending on their type. This design allows you to quickly reload the launcher without the involvement of additional equipment. And for example, for Russian MLRS such as Ukrainian, Smerch, and Tornado, each rocket must be inserted into the guides, and a special crane is needed when reloading. Therefore, the M142 HIMARS is much more effective than Russian weapons in terms of reloading. Now about the most interesting, about missiles themselves. A wide range of unguided and guided missiles of 227mm caliber has been developed for HIMARS. At different times, products with different ranges, combat load and capabilities were offered and adopted. In addition, an ATA-CMS tactical missile with a range of 300 kilometers, or a PRSM with a range of 500 kilometers, can be placed in the container. However, the Pentagon announced that it would not supply such products to Ukraine, at least for now. The first ammunition for HIMARS was the M26 227mm rocket. It had a range of 32 kilometers and carried a cluster warhead. The latter contained 677 M77 heat fragmentation submunitions. A later design is the GMLRS sub-series ammunition, guided MLRS. It includes an M30 projectile with a range of 84 kilometers, equipped with a trajectory correction system. The base variant of the M30 carries a cassette with 404 M85 submunitions. Modifications of high explosive fragmentation were also developed. A further development of the M30 is the M31 rocket. Such a product received a 90-kilogram monoblock high explosive fragmentation warhead. The flight range remained the same. To date, the work has been completed on the next type of rocket, designated as GMLRS-ER, Extended Range. It is another modification of the M30-31 rocket and features a new engine with an increased charge of solid propellant. Due to this, the firing range was increased to 150 kilometers. The accuracy remained the same. The exact type of ammunition for HIMARS, which will be supplied to Ukraine, has not yet been specified, but there is information that Kyiv will receive mobile long-range HIMARS systems with a range of destruction of 70 to 80 kilometers, but with an obligation not to strike at the territory of the Russian Federation. However, U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine Bridget Brink said that the Ukrainian army will make their own decisions about the range of strikes. If the allowed range is 70 to 80 kilometers, it means that the M30 and M31 guided missiles will be supplied. So, can this weapon turn the tide of the war and force Russian troops to retreat? Let's start with the fact that the armed forces of Ukraine already have long-range multiple launch rocket systems, which they used at the front. According to the Military Balance 2021 directory, at the beginning of 2021, the Ukrainian army had 70 units of the old Soviet 9P140 Ukrainian MLRS of 220mm caliber, as well as 81 units of the more powerful 300mm 9A52 Smerch, and more than 80 units of Smerch modernized in Ukraine, which are called Vilka. Also, Ukrainian troops had about 200 Grad rocket launchers. In total, about 430 to 450 MLRS units of various ranges and calibers. On March 2nd, the press service of the Ukrainian Lush Design Bureau reported that since February 24th, the armed forces of Ukraine delivered about 50 precision missile strikes with R-624 Vilka guided missiles. These are new high-precision and long-range missiles that were created just a few years ago. How many of them were produced is unknown, but judging by the publications and open sources, only about 100 of them were made. The range of some missiles for Vilka and Smerch reaches 120 kilometers, but most missiles fired a maximum of 90 kilometers. As you can see, the range of these munitions is in no way inferior, and even slightly exceeds the range of the missiles that the Pentagon will supply to Ukraine, along with the HIMARS MLRS. At the same time, 12 missiles can be loaded in one launcher. That is 2 times more than in the American one. Uragan is a less powerful and older system, rather difficult to use, but nevertheless it is capable of firing at 35 kilometers, which also allows you to fire at enemy positions from a distance that exceeds the range of the most common and numerous Grad MLRS systems and D-30 howitzers. In this case, in one salvo there can be 16 missiles. Grad is an even more ancient rocket launcher, adopted for service in 1963. The caliber of its missiles is 122 millimeters. The maximum range is 42 kilometers. The number of missiles in a salvo is 42 pieces. How many missiles in the MLRS themselves remained in the arsenal of the armed forces of Ukraine after 3 months of intense hostilities is not known for certain. According to the summary of the General Staff of the Russian Federation of June 3rd, Russian troops destroyed 466 Ukrainian MLRS. That is more than it was in Ukraine before the war. Either the military balance was wrong, or the Russians are exaggerating the losses. Most likely both. But from the above figures, it's clear that even before American assistance, Ukraine had an impressive potential of the MLRS, which exceeded the potential of any NATO army, including the Turkish one, except of course the USA. And yet this power did not help. So how would 4 American missile launchers help with missiles whose technical characteristics are comparable to Vilka-guided missiles? What does this mean? If the West wants Ukraine to win and prove to the whole world that the coordinated actions of all democratic states can defeat the aggressor, no matter how strong he is, NATO countries are obliged to provide Ukraine with the maximum possible amount of heavy modern weapons, maybe even to the detriment of their armies. After all, you can always replenish stocks later, so the current situation can be changed when, according to the Ukrainian military, for one shot from a Ukrainian howitzer or MLRS, Russia responds with hundreds of such shots. It would also be great for the United States to supply Ukraine with ATACMS missiles, and maybe even PRSM, which will allow Ukrainians to reach even Moscow. In this case, the situation would change dramatically. The Russians can receive very sensitive blows to their administrative centers, which will force them to negotiate with conditions acceptable to Ukraine. What do you think about this? Share your opinion in the comments section. And do not forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to our channel. There will be many more interesting videos about modern weapons.